Michael, a strange sort of game. One goal until midway through the third quarter, and pretty good fight back. And then, how do you see it all?
Probably a bit like that. I mean, it's when you look at our first half, we were largely able to get a lot of moments in our favour. We had great field position. Our inefficiency to be able to finish our work put us on the back foot a little bit. So rather than be, I guess, somewhat discouraged by that, the good thing there was that the boys aimed up a bit and kept believing in the process that we need to be able to execute in the second half, and the scoreboard started to tick over. So you start to get that energy, and a little bit of reward and nourishment that you need from the scoreboard ticking over. So for large parts of that second half, we put ourselves in such a great position, and we weren't able to close out the game exactly like we'd want to. So, you hit the front with, 6-7 minutes to go in the game, and we weren't able to finish off that last 6 or 7 minutes. So we'll go back and review that strongly, but I felt like we walked out of the game with more moments that looked like us. So we've been working pretty hard over the course of the last month to get that, but it still shows that we've got a bit of work to do.
Did you mix things up at all at half time to try and get some more scores on the board, or how did you go?
Yeah, we did a little bit. I mean, we obviously talked through at half time what those entries looked like, and how we could defend it our half a little bit better. They were sort of getting a little bit too much uncontested possession in our back half, so we went to work on that. And that seemed to have an impact clearly across the rest of the game. When you're putting when you're putting lots of parts together, but you don't walk away with a win, I mean, that's extremely disappointing. The effort doesn't match necessarily the outcome, and so we've got to go back and we've got to look at what we need to get better at and how we can become more consistent in certain moments and in passages of play, because that's where we have to spend most of our time now.
Are you able to put your finger on the reasons behind that inefficiency in the first half? Is it connection? Is it choices going to attack?
There's a little bit of both. I mean, they had a lot of density back, across the entire game. It was clear that they came with trying to fill that up. Our re-entry ball against some numbers was a little bit harder to work through, but that's not unusual. It's always hard to score against when you're looking at a bunch of opposition. You have to go back through. So, but then when you get your moments, you have to finish those moments, and certainly first half to second half they were very different, very contrasting. And we got the lift that we wanted, but it wasn't for long enough in the end.
Marcus Bontempelli's been on fire this year, but Matt Kennedy more than held his own.
Yeah, he did. Bond got going a little bit in the last little bit. So did Libba around the ball. So for most of the night, yeah, Matty had a great role on him. He had a for a large part of the game was able to get that job done for us. Good players, they still find a way, don't they, for certain little periods of time. So they don't need a long period of time to do some damage. But pleased with the way that Matty went about that tonight.
The uncontested possession you just mentioned, Michael. The second half, you really got on top of that. In the first half, as you said, they sort of dominated you in that area. Did you want them to be more creative in the first half, or they just weren't allowed to be? Because in the second half, twice, it looks like you guys are a lot more creative and flipping the ball.
No, not really. No, not really. I think you sort of look at the ball movement, and we've spoken a little bit about last week, some of the things that we needed to get to work on out of our back half. There's a couple that stand out to me that would like to have some better options, but I'd say generally it was a massive improvement on what we're trying to create. So I thought we took our moments when we needed to. We took it offline when we needed to. We were able to string some great passages of play together, but it still requires, a finish in the end. And I think we're running at, first half we're running 17%, scores per entry. I mean, that's just way too low compared to and they got a couple of goals in the second quarter, I guess, against the run of play a little bit, and that can hurt a fair bit because you're working so hard to to get at your end and score, but they were able to go at the other end twice and they scored 2 goals from those 2 entries. So that can hurt a bit. So we sort of reflected on that a little bit at half time, and we sort of felt like we were in a good place with most things in our game, but clearly the front half part needed some work, and we weren't part. Like I said, most of the game we had some parts of our game that you sort of walked away with, well, that looks more like us, but it wasn't long enough. So that leaves you walking away pretty disappointed.
Do you continue to back the boys in terms of their snap set shots for goal, or does there come a time someone has to say kick for goal conventionally? There were 3 in the first half.
Yeah.
They're all gettable goals.
Yeah, they are. No, I don't think so. I mean, that's up for the coaches to work through and for the individuals to be able to work through. And if you're choosing that your method, become good at it. That's all you ask, is making sure that they finish off their work. So whether that's lining straight up, whether that's snaps on goals, clearly we've got to make sure that we get a little bit better at it.
Sam Walsh obviously missed the first part of the season, but how do you see him tracking now?
No, well, Walshy's been building the last little while, so he's had a little bit more exposure around the middle of the ground over the course of. But his efficiency's getting a little bit better, which is good. His ability to be able to play out the game. He's got just such a huge running capacity and a credible outnumber player. He just keeps turning up for you. So no, that's been one that we've. It's been a worthwhile, really good addition for us. Clearly, he's a very good player for us. So we just got to keep trying to keep our players in form, get them in form altogether. When you sort of look across their month, there's some players that are in some really good form, but we need to be able to get the collective, and the collective moves the needle for us, and that's what we've got to keep investing in.
Did you take any attention of the heat that came on the club this week? There was obviously a lot of loud voices that had their say yesterday, and there was extra heat on the club. Did you pay any attention to that?
Oh, well, it's hard not to when it's surrounding you, but for us, the answer's not looking external; it's looking internal, and what we get to be able to control is what we do and how we train and how we turn up and how we get better and how we execute in those moments, and that's for anything to sort of change, that's what we've got to get after. So for us, it's eyes down, it's eyes in, and we've got to go again. So we've got another I guess an extended break this week to go to work on our game, and that's what we'll do. So we'll turn on Monday and we'll look at the realities of the game, try and strip away some of the emotion, some of the disappointment of the performance, and go to work at it and hopefully just improve a little bit better for next week.
Do you feel the wheel concern quickly? Like you obviously got the Pies.
Sorry, say that
Do you
again.
feel the wheel concern quickly? Like obviously top 4 of the last 5, big game heading into the Pies, key part of the season.
Yeah.
Really best footies there.
I don't tend to look too far ahead, but the game in front of us is obviously Collingwood, so we've got to get ourselves ready for that. So they've got their own threats that we need to be able to manage, and we've got some things that we need to be able to get after as a priority. So no, I've never been one to sort of look too far ahead. We've got the next contest, and if anything, there's no other week more important than this week in terms of just making sure that we get it right, and that's going to take a fair bit of preparation and training to ensure we can make some, continue to make some progress on our game style and our game model, and be more consistent when we need to be. Cheers. Thank you.